Hello everyone, this is Boricua Binks and welcome to Let's Play 999. Oh, I don't know what I did in the last episode because it's been a while and school has started, so oh gosh, just being able to record makes me really happy, but it's like, oh man, it's so hard. Oh boy. Okay, so let me see. What did we do in the last episode? Okay, it says confinement room. I have something to do with the dirty toilets, and we were with Seven and Lotus, I believe. Something about water. I don't know. Okay, so let's continue, guys. I hope you all are doing wonderful. I am super stressed and not happy at school, but I'm okay. I'm alright. I'm just happy to be able to record today. Junpei put the wet tile into his pocket. He was about to turn away when there was a noise behind him. He spun around to see Seven kneeling on the floor. His face was rigid and pale. Droplets of sweat covered his forehead. Hey, what's going on? You okay, man? He was concerned. He'd never seen Seven like this before. Uh-oh. Slowly, the other man lifted himself to his feet on shaky legs. Yeah, I'm fine. I just got a little dizzy, that's all. His face was pale and his breathing was heavy. Sweat was pouring off his face and staining his shirt. He was many things, but fine was not one of them. Yeah, you should probably get checked out, but considering the circumstances, I don't think anybody there's a doctor, so... Are you sure? You don't look so good. Seven didn't answer. Half of his face was twisted, as if distorted by extreme pain, and his eyes were glazed. Finally, he spoke. What am I doing here? His words made no sense. Uh-oh. Amnesia again? What are you talking about? We opened the number 2 door and walked in here. Don't tell me you forgot? No, that's not what I mean. Oh, okay. What's going on then? He shook his head several times as if trying to clear something from it. It ain't much, but I think some of my memories came back. Uh, uh, I think I've been here before. Really? Huh? I said I've been in this room before. You were here? When? Why? Aoi. See, these Japanese names. I think it's Ao, like Ao. It's like Aoi. Like Aoi. Something like that. That's one of the hardest names to say in Japanese for me. Ones that start with like AO are really awkward. I don't know. I'm okay with saying a lot of other ones, but this one, no. Aoi, light, Nona. Suddenly, Seven was mumbling to himself. They were words Junpei didn't understand. Seven's hoarse voice trailed off, and Junpei couldn't make out what he'd said. What the hell was that? Seven's brow furrowed furiously, and he ground his teeth back and forth. It's right here. I feel like I'm this close to remembering everything, but I just can't. Seven stopped, frustrated. He pulled his hat off and ran a hand through his hair. Then suddenly he looked up, his eyes wide. That's right! An experiment! There was some kind of experiment going on this ship. Yeah, Clover told us about that. An experiment? What sort of experiment? They were trying to control people. Or something like that. Junpei didn't know what to make of Seven's story. Instead, he simply stared at Seven as Seven continued. Aoi, Light, and Nona. Those were their names. Well, some of them. The kids that were there. In the experiment, I mean. I think there were 4 or 5 more, but I don't remember all their names. Yeah, that's right. That's why I'm here. Seven began to mumble to himself and wander aimlessly around the room. He looked confused. So far as Junpei could tell, the man was simply rambling, and there were odd twitches to his movements. Experiment. Cradle Pharmaceutical. Those kidnapped kids. Was I working that case? Ah. Sounds like something a cop would say, don't you think? Seven continued to mumble to himself about things that meant nothing to Junpei. Or a lawyer. I mean, a lawyer could say that too. Junpei didn't have any answers for him, of course. He couldn't understand what was happening to Seven. All he could do was wait. After a few minutes, Seven finally stopped. He crouched down and looked under the bed. His face registered mild surprise, and he began to mumble to himself again. The hole's gone? No, maybe it was a different room. There's gotta be a ton of rooms on this boat that look just like this one. At last, Junpei could contain himself no longer. Hey, what exactly do you remember? Well, maybe you could stop talking like a crazy person and tell me what's going on here? Seven stood up slowly. Well, it's not like I really remember everything. I've only got bits and pieces, and they're scattered and don't make much sense. I don't care. Tell me the bits and pieces then. Junpei could feel it. Whatever Seven had remembered, it was important. Very important. Seven drew a large muscled hand down across his face. As he wiped the sweat from his brow, he spoke. From what I can remember, I think I was, yep, a cop. That makes perfect sense. Because he mentioned something about a perp before, and I was like, oh, that's a cop lingo right there. A cop? Yeah. I was looking for that group of kids that got kidnapped 9 years ago. You remember that, right? It was all over the news. Yeah. I was still in school. I don't remember all the details, but I do remember some of it. I think it was a bunch of kids right around my age. Ooh, 16 of them. They all just disappeared. Nobody knew why. It was all over TV and the newspapers every day. So, you're saying you were investigating it? Yeah, that's what it looks like. And I guess I found something. There was this medical company called Cradle Pharmaceutical that had something to do with those kids. After I figured that out, I managed to get some information out of somebody who worked for them. They told me a ship would be leaving that night with all the kids on it. They were going to be taken to some kind of big passenger ship somewhere out in the ocean. That's, disturbing. Oh, he looks really different there. Nice suit, dude. Not very conspicuous, though. And so, Seven had headed to the wharf. I mean, he stands out with that bright orange. He kept to the shadows and before long found the suspicious ship he'd been looking for. There were a number of human shapes moving near the ship. They were men in black suits. Many of them were carrying large bags onto the ship. But the way they're carrying it looks very suspicious. The bags. There was something about the way they moved as they were carried. Oh, there could be no mistake. There were human beings in those bags. Oh, I would hate to ever be in a bag like that. I feel like I'm suffocating. That's awful. He had moved before he even realized he was going to. He didn't have any backup or anything though. Freaking idiot. Out of the shadows he came, his gun already in his hand. He heard the words, "Don't move," but they weren't his. He felt metal touch the back of his head. "Drop your gun," came the cold voice from behind him. With the words, he felt the cold metal thing behind him press against his skull. Has to be a gun. Slowly, Seven crouched down and laid his gun on the ground. Then suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his neck. A needle. Who walks around carrying a freaking needle? Was it some kind of drug? Well, obviously. What else are you gonna put in a needle? Unless you're stabbing somebody to kill them, but that's different. As he was thinking about that, Seven felt his face hit the cold concrete beneath him. He could feel the chill of it seeping into him. Oh boy. You got yourself in trouble, boy. Ugh. Damn it. Shit, my head hurts. Seven woke to find himself lying on a hard floor. He twisted his neck to peer around the room. Where am I? There was a small shabby bed and a dirty sink. Huh, looks familiar. A toilet with no stall or privacy of any sort. As a cop, it was a place Seven had seen all too often. I'm in a cell, huh? Opposite the toilet was a door set into the wall. Seven struggled to his feet and hobbled toward it. Excuse me. Trying not to sneeze. He gave the door a good shove, then another, then tried pulling it. It didn't open. Well, that was about what he had expected. It wasn't likely that someone would put him in a cell only to leave it unlocked. He threw himself against the door a few times, but to no avail. I knew it. Seven grumbled to himself as he moved back toward the bed. He sat down. I was really hoping today's episode would have me solving puzzles, but it's story time, so... Oh boy. He sat there for a very long time. Just how long, he wasn't sure. At last, he began to nod off, and had nearly fallen asleep when he was roused by a distant voice. There's... over. It's 9. The voice was far away, very far away. Seven couldn't understand what it was saying. Nonetheless, it was a voice, and a high one. Oh, a kid. His eyes shot open. Her, oh, here. A, ink. As he listened, he could pick out several different, distinct voices. There were at least 5 or 6, possibly more. Where were the voices coming from? He looked around the room frantically. Perhaps the door? No, that wasn't it. What? Go. Ow. Was it coming from the left? Was it coming from under the bed? He grabbed the bed and flipped it up with ease. There it was. There was a hole for ventilation in the wall where the bed had been, covered with a metal grate. Seven lay down on his stomach and peered through the grate. He couldn't see anything. It was too dark. Now that he'd found it, however, there could be no doubt. This was the source of the voices. For a moment he was confused. Why were there children nearby? Then he remembered what the man from Cradle Pharmaceutical had told him. How a ship would take the kidnapped children from the wharf to a waiting passenger liner out in the ocean. Was Seven on that passenger liner? Why did they take him with them? Wouldn't you, like, if you're a bad guy and you had him like they had him, wouldn't they have killed him and then dumped his body in the water? Honestly, that would make the most sense to me. I don't know. This is weird. Very weird. They're like breaking all the bad guy rules here. Oh, they deserve to get caught. Jerks. Doing that to kids. It didn't matter. What mattered was that he had find a way to the children. Seven looked at the metal grate. Could he fit through that hole? He stuck his fingers through the grate and grabbed hold of it. Man, he's like super strong. Yeah, how'd you like that, you son of a... The dark square sat open before him. Seven wiped the sweat from his forehead and crawled inside. Junpei waited for Seven to resume his story. The longer he waited, however, the clearer it became that Seven had no intention of doing so. You left him with a cliffhanger? That is... Oh my gosh, he just pulled a Pharaoh. Ah, that sucks. He had gone silent and simply stared off into the air, his eyes blank. Hey, what happened after that? He'd waited long enough, but Seven shook his head. I don't remember what happens after that. Ah, well, that sucks. I think I found some kind of door out of the duct. Okay. And I think I found some kids too. Oh man. Why can't I remember what happened next? Oh man. What happened to the kids, Seven? Did you save them? I don't know. I don't know if it was me. I got this feeling. I think one of the kids died. Ooh. A girl, I think. Huh? Ooh, that's not good. Deep in his heart, Junpei felt something very cold. Seven's head dropped, and Junpei saw on it a look of sadness the likes of which he had never seen on the man before. The large man's eyes blinked rapidly, as if he were fighting back tears, and he swallowed hard. His sigh was like the melancholy setting of an old abandoned building. He shook his head and spoke. Anyway, just please don't ask me any more, okay? I really don't remember anything else. After that, Junpei could hardly try to force any answers out of the older man. There was nothing more he could do. Instead, Junpei turned his mind to trying to make sense of what Seven had told him. The children who had been kidnapped 9 years before. Apparently, a company called Cradle Pharmaceutical had been behind the kidnappings and had taken the children to the ship they were on now. They had been brought to the ship for an experiment. Something to do with controlling human beings, Seven had said. The 16 children who had been kidnapped were the subjects for the experiment. Seven had said 3 of their names were Aoi, Light, and Nona. I don't know if it's Nana or Nona. That was the new information. He had also learned that Seven was, or had been, a police officer. Still, there was little he could do with this new information. He had learned nothing about the nonary game or Zero. He had no idea why they had been brought to the ship that had been the site of those experiments 9 years before. Junpei couldn't forget what Seven had said the purpose of the experiment had been. To control human beings. Could such an absurd experiment really have been conducted? Before long, Junpei realized he had spent quite some time deep in thought. No time for that, he chided himself. He had work to do. Junpei shook his head quickly to clear it and returned to his investigation, thoughts swirling in his mind. Oh, So that was a long story. I think we're gonna cut this episode right here, guys. Sorry nothing else happened. It was more of a backstory kind of thing. Hopefully it was interesting anyway. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this, and until next time, have a nice day. Bye!